I'm going to leave the development map up here for Mr. Lunding to look at for a while when he claims there's been no new development approved in Carmel Valley in recent years. That's simply false, and this map details that. More importantly, I want you to pay attention to the argument that you just heard. Mr. Lunding wants it both ways. He began the talk by saying how the town is such a fiscal train wreck that the county is going to have to come in and salvage it. He ended his talk by saying the town is going to be so affluent it's going to drip the county dry of funds. It can't be both ways. It can't be both a fiscal train wreck waiting to happen and so affluent that it's taking money away from the county unfairly. You can't have it both ways. Mr. Lunding also does not understand the purpose of the revenue neutrality agreement. The purpose of the RNA, which presumably is why we're here today, is not to discuss whether the town is fiscally viable. That's the purpose of the comprehensive fiscal analysis. The purpose of the revenue neutrality agreement, the basis of his, one of his lawsuits, the one we're here for today, is to address the gap between revenues and expenditures. Revenues that go to the county and expenditures that come from the county to the town, and to make sure that that gap is mitigated for a period of time, which is exactly what it is. And by law, that had to be the 2003 fiscal year gap linked with the certificate of filing of the incorporation petition. So therefore, all of his arguments are frankly moot. They're off point. They're not relevant. You know, a second marriage is sometimes referred to as the triumph of hope over experience. And today is not much different. 9 months after having his bogus financial report, and Dave, I wasn't referring to you on that, bogus financial report dismissed by LAFCO as being without merit, here comes Mr. Lunding again trying to sell you and the public his snake oil on behalf of big development interests, all designed to stop local control over development in Carmel Valley. And again, let me remind you of the history. On November 25th of last year, when LAFCO was set to send this issue to the voters where it belongs, at the last moment, Mr. Lunding, as apparently I guess he did this morning as well, Mr. Lunding did a document dump, including his unreviewed financial report by hired gun, all designed to delay our election. And he was successful in delaying it, but this time only for a week. LAFCO staff and their expert consultants spent the next week reviewing Mr. Lunding's report and the various claims it makes, and they found the report had no merit to it. They were right to do so, as this report has never been peer-reviewed by outside experts or even the county's financial team. It did not even pass the first smell test given to it by LAFCO and their independent experts. And after reviewing it for a week, LAFCO dismissed his report and on December 1st adopted the 2008 Comprehensive Fiscal Analysis and sent this issue to the voters where it belongs. Now, being in the consulting business part-time myself, I'm quite sure Mr. Lunding could find a consultant willing to argue that the earth is flat, as long as the check cashed. But only a fool would believe the argument, and the same is true for his financial report. Notice, for example, he doesn't even know what a loan is. He is suggesting that the county is giving the town, he says $6 million, he says other places $4 million loan during the first couple of years. This is not a loan, this is payment for services. Again, under the agreement, and under the law, the county does the services the first year. The town actually has up to 5 years to repay the county for the first year services. We're doing it right away. The county will be billing the town on a quarterly basis. The bills will be reviewed and then paid on a quarterly basis in the first year. That's projected to be $4 million. This is not a loan, this is payment for services, ridiculous claim. The revenue neutrality agreement, again, $15.9 million. I'm not sure why he's saying that you're giving this, the county's giving this to the town. It's exactly the opposite. Again, it's that gap between revenues and expenditures to mitigate, to give the county a soft landing, that the town is paying the county discretionary funds. You may use it as you wish. $15.9 million. The payments will last approximately 12 years, beginning in the third year. So this is a nice thing for the county, again, to get used to life after Carmel Valley taxes. This is not a loan. This is an Orwellian view of what a loan constitutes. That is true. Tehama is not part of the fiscal analysis because it was cut out. But don't forget, Tehama to this day has little or any revenue being generated because it's not developed yet. It's approved, but there's very little, if any, residential building in that area, so it's not generating any property taxes currently, so it's not part of the fiscal calculation currently. And no, Mr. Lunding, Mr. Bacon's comments were not 3% inflation adjusted as you claimed. He's using figures from Table 1A. He's far more conservative than I am. That is no inflation adjustments. These are constant dollars. Look at your Table 1A, please. And yes, fiscal 09 was down. We would have been down 5% in revenues, but I remind you that's a whole lot less than the county is down in revenues during fiscal 09. So the town is actually in very good fiscal position. Carmel Valley Ranch, yes, it is down, and that's going to result in a drop of $50,000 in property taxes to the new town. As Mr. Bacon said, that is not a big number. Members of the board, where were Frank Lunding and Tony Lombardo when residents of Carmel Valley fought for a better and more realistic general plan? Where were Lunding and Lombardo when we worked on trying to find real traffic solutions? Where were Lunding and Lombardo when residents of Carmel Valley worked to save the Carmel River? Or when residents of Carmel Valley fought against September Ranch and the Mirabito self-storage compound at Mid-Valley? Where were Lunding and Lombardo when residents fought to eliminate ghostwriting and scandals in the planning department? I was in the trenches for all of those fights, as were many residents of Carmel Valley. Never did I see Frank Lunding or any of the incorporation opponents in any of these battles. And we only ever saw Tony Lombardo working against Carmel Valley. And now they have the chutzpah to say they're working to keep Carmel Valley rural. How gullible do they think we are? I'm sorry, Mr. Lunding, but doublespeak is not spoken in Carmel Valley. Who supports Measure G? All local environmental and conservation organizations and leaders. Two past presidents of the Big Sur Land Trust. I'll be done. Many of our elected representatives, by far the largest homeowners and residents association in Carmel Valley. Local business leaders who know that maintaining the rural character of Carmel Valley is essential for local prosperity. Local tradesmen who know that big developers don't use local labor but bring in their own firms instead. They all support Measure G, as do homeowner association board members past and present who understand from experience how critical local control really is in preserving the rural character of Carmel Valley. On their side, they do not have a single preservationist, conservationist, environmentalist, anybody who has fought in the trenches to preserve Carmel Valley's rural character. Not one person or organization of that stature is opposed to Measure G, at least that has come out publicly. Only by passing Measure G can we defeat more big subdivisions like Rancho Cañada, keep the big developers out of our small river valley, and maintain our rural character and open spaces. I urge anybody in this room who is a citizen of Carmel Valley to vote yes on Measure G, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.